I am super excited for today's episode, Expert Authority World. You know me, and you know I may like video. There's this little site that I got turned on to, let's just say, a few years ago. It's called YouTube, and I have none other than Alric Heck here. He's an YouTube's ads expert. He's the CEO of Ad Outreach, and he's part of the ClickFunnels 2 Comma Club. He's going to be sharing not only how to get the videos onto YouTube, but how to profit them, how to profit from them, high ticket sales with YouTube ads. I don't know about you, but I'm geeked out of my mind because video is just so much fun, clearly, and I can't wait to bring them up. So I'm going to shut up now, thank the sponsor, and get them on here because I want to learn just as much as you. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Alaric Heck. Alaric, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on, Mario.
I am excited to have you on and share with Expert Authority World. As you may have caught in the beginning, I love video. I'm geeked out of my mind. And when I saw what you did and who you've helped, I was like, I absolutely need to showcase you. So how did you get into it?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So I've been actually on the YouTube platform for over 10 years, which is kind of crazy to think about. And obviously it was a totally different platform back then. I'm sure you probably remember, the star rating system, standard definition videos. It was a whole different platform. And I started out back then, I was actually, pretty young at the time, right? So I was, in my early teens. And what I was doing at that time was I was creating videos on app reviews, technology tutorials, teaching people how to use their iPhone, and really just showing off kind of the best apps and technology. And it actually really quickly became pretty popular. So, the channel was, App Find. It became the largest app review channel on YouTube. Today it has over 400,000 subscribers, which is great. I have a small team that manages it. It's kind of more of a 4-hour work week, kind of thing for me now. But it really grew and got bigger. And I had a lot of different people kind of sponsoring, with different apps, different, sponsors that would come in. And about 5-6 years ago, when I was in kind of, in my early stages of college, I had one particular application that they sponsored me. So that basically they paid for like us to do a promotion of one of their apps on a video, got lots of downloads when we posted on the channel. And I remember they said something very specific. They said, hey, how can we get this to more people? How can we have more people see this video, more people download our app? And that's when I said, listen, I've actually been trying a little bit with YouTube ads, experimenting. What if we run this video as a YouTube ad? And so they weren't sure. They were a little skeptical. But ultimately, they agreed to give us $500 to run that video as an ad. I ran it as an ad. And in just 1 week, with $500, we got over 11,000 users for their app, which was incredible. They loved it. They were super happy. I did another promotion with them. They were trying to get me to kind of drop out of college, fly to Silicon Valley, kind of join them. But I, probably like yourself and maybe a lot of people listening, I knew I wanted to be, that expert, right? I wanted to be that business owner, the king of my own castle instead of just the knight in somebody else's. And so what I decided to do from there is I created, originally it was App Outreach, and I was doing YouTube ads for mobile apps. We drove millions of downloads. And then what I realized is I was using YouTube ads to get app developer clients, right? That I was then, running ads for. I realized that was an even bigger skill set, is YouTube ads to get clients, get leads, get high ticket sales, really get these high value, B2B leads coming in to businesses using YouTube ads. And so that's what I've been doing ever since.
That is fantastic because I can totally relate to that. You learn one thing and you're like, wow, this is so cool. I feel like it empowers you to do it on your own, but that really is the gateway to open another door and go, there's this whole bigger world that this is just small. I'm thankful for it, and I don't want to say it's small beans, but in the grand scheme of life, it's a gateway to get you to that bigger thing. And it sounds like the ads are the big thing for you now, because who can't you help?
Exactly, exactly. And that's what we're working on now. And I realized it's not just, $1 apps or, free plus, whatever model apps that you can advertise. You could advertise larger packages. You could advertise, in different areas as well, right? We have B2B clients. We have clients who are kind of, mattress companies. We've got all kinds, a whole range of different clients that use YouTube ads. And it really just is a platform that works so well. And a lot of people are seeing, and you might even be, you definitely have people who are seeing this, if not yourself, like Facebook ad costs are kind of going up and up. And so YouTube is that next alternative that I am really happy and excited to be helping our clients, make that transition, not necessarily away from Facebook, but definitely not putting all their eggs in one basket and starting to use YouTube to get leads and sales, for their business.
Well, I got to ask about that, because you bring up a good point. Facebook is, I still think, a very viable medium, and I've seen your ads on it.
Yes.
And they look great, and I've also seen them on YouTube too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was probably, I'm just going to say, after I checked out some of your stuff and you targeted me with a tracking pixel.
Of course, of course.
And we'll definitely talk about that in shortly for people that don't know what that is, and you should have them. But just like when SEO was a big thing 900,000 years ago at the beginning of the internet, it seems like that anyway, everything goes up in cost. So where would you say from the infancy to complete maturity Facebook is compared to YouTube?
That's a great question. So Facebook is definitely maturing, at a much faster clip, and it's been, utilized by people kind of in our space, like think entrepreneurs, right? So not just big businesses, right, but entrepreneurs, people who have smaller businesses, online businesses. We've been leveraging Facebook for a long time, and YouTube is still in the earlier stages of that. Obviously, the platforms existed for a while, but it's in its earlier stages of having a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, start to utilize it. It's an intent-based platform. So people are actually searching for things when they, go onto YouTube. And so you can target them when they're actually looking that up, right? So if somebody's looking up how to run YouTube ads, and then I appear in front of a video, same thing. If they're looking up how to lose weight and you have some kind of weight loss plan or coaching, you appear in front of that video. And so I would say that YouTube, it is starting to grow more, but it's definitely on the earlier stage. Right. So whereas if you're looking out on a scale like 1 to 10, I'd say Facebook's probably around that 7, 8 in maturity. Like think Google pay-per-clicks probably like the or SEO, right? Is at the kind of that 10, right? So people have already figured out how to tap into it. The people that are going to advertise on there, it still works, but it's very, very mature. I would say Facebook's getting up there. I would say before some of this, stuff that's been going on in the world, it was maybe at like an 8, maybe it slid back a little bit as some advertisers pulled off, but it's still 7, 8. And I would say that YouTube's really only at like a 3 right now. I would say like a 3 or 4. So it's in that early stage. It's not even even in the middle yet. So you could still have that opportunity to come in very, very early. Like when I was starting out earlier, that was like 1 or 2. That was very, very early. But right now is still perfect time to get in on the blue ocean that is YouTube.
That's basically what I heard, is there's a ton of opportunity on YouTube if you have the videos for it or are willing to create them. Because I wanted to ask you, do you think more people gravitate to Facebook because you can just do text and an image versus needing actual video? I mean, if you put a static image on YouTube for an ad, I just have a high suspicion it's not going to convert too well.
Exactly. And I think that's, where there will always be that additional barrier to entry with YouTube, but that's great for the people that actually take that leap, right? So if you actually create a YouTube ad and you have the right points, and that's actually what I'm excited to share, with you, Mario, and everybody who's listening, right, is some of the key components to a winning YouTube ad that we found, scientifically proven to convert. But what we found is there is that additional barrier to entry, but it's not as hard as people think, right? So people think you need all this fancy equipment and studios and fancy things for your ads, but in reality, what you need is to be authentic, be yourself, right? Be an expert. Right? We're all watching this because we're experts, and so if you can get in front of your core audience on YouTube, on video, even if you're filming with an iPhone. I mean, the cameras on an iPhone these days is just incredible. Even if you're filming with an iPhone and a gimbal, which obviously you would know, Mario, but for those of you who are watching, right, stabilizes your phone. Maybe add a little bit of microphone you can kind of plug into the microphone chip or the lightning connector, and then you just record on that, showcasing yourself as an expert, going through some of the points that we're about to talk about today. And people are going to see that as natural and actually want to work with you. Because think about it, right? We're attuned to tuning out things that feel like ads, right? So things that, feel overly produced, they're kind of, almost a little bit cheesy sometimes if you don't get it right. We've been accustomed to tuning those ads out. Think about it. You watch TV, turn the volume down, you go get some snacks or whatever, if there's a commercial playing. So that's why on YouTube, right, the equivalent of getting snacks is clicking that skip button. Well, what you want to do is you want to entice the right person to actually pay attention and watch and be interested. And the way to do that is be natural, excite them, and provide some form of tangible value on your video ad so that they have to take action. And that's what I'm excited to talk about today. I've got some of the key, components and really breaking down how to create that ad that will convert on YouTube.
How many steps are there to have an ad that will convert on YouTube, would you say, that you found?
Absolutely. So on the video side, there's 3 main components, and then we can break those down. And then when it comes to the
Before we get into that, I want to play devil's advocate because something popped in my mind.
Yeah.
YouTube Premium.
Yes.
Do you have any stats on what percentage of people have it versus, and I know it's like, there's no ads for that, and I'm having some fun, but I also realize it's not 99% of the people watching on YouTube. I mean, do you know what the stats are? Is it like 5, 10, 20% have it and the rest don't?
Yeah.
And is there a way around it so you can still get in front of those people?
So it's definitely less than 10%. Honestly, it's less than, last time I checked, it was less than 5%, but I'd have to get the updated stats on that. It's a small number of people that have the YouTube Premium. But the interesting thing is it's the same argument that kind of exists throughout time, right? Where it's like, well, what if people aren't on YouTube or aren't on Facebook? Well, or aren't on LinkedIn or whatever. Well, there's enough people that are on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, or searching on Google. There are people that exist that exclusively search on Bing. It's probably not us, but those people exist. But it doesn't mean that there's not enough people searching on Google, on Facebook, on YouTube to actually get your core audience when you're running ads. And that actually leads to a point that's really interesting. When you're talking about high tier, high value people, YouTube lets you target based on household income demographics, which Facebook, they haven't let you do that in years. Now it's only on, and you probably know this too, right? But it's only on zip code income targeting. If you try to do income targeting on Facebook right now, it's all zip code. Whereas on YouTube, you can actually go in and choose household income based on the individual. And Google has all this data, right? They're taking what kind of devices you're logging into. Are you logging in on the latest iPhone, latest, a Mac versus PC? That has a factor, right? What are you searching for? What have you bought before? Anything that had a purchase conversion in the past? What are all the different values? What are you searching for? They have all this information about you that they are putting into whether or not you're in a certain income bracket. And so imagine if you have a B2B service, right? And we'll talk about this. This is the other side of it, right? This is targeting. But imagine if you have a B2B service and you're targeting people who are in a top income bracket, right? And then they're looking up a certain type of video and they're also in a certain affinity group. We'll talk about what that is. This is our concept of 3D YouTube ads, which I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. But when we talk about this, it's how you pinpoint the perfect person with your advertisement. So we can get into that a little bit later. But if you want, you asked about the video components. I'm happy to kind of break that down step by step.
I want to cover all of it because I know how valuable it is. And I'm very much interested, but I know for everyone that's listening and watching, it is so valuable because when you're talking about the infinity, the zip code, the targeting, the income brackets, I'm very familiar with it because I do run ads and people don't realize how powerful it is. And one thing that's always excited me about YouTube ads over the Facebook is one is Google, one is Facebook. Facebook's been trying to get everyone's data. Google's had it. And from when you're doing it from a place of servitude with a good heart, you can really help the right people easier, and it costs you less overall. I think it was Ogilvy with that old adage, half my advertising's working, I just don't know what half. Well, that was like 100 years ago. We now
Mm-hmm.
know, and you can track, hey, this one ad is converting at 2.68%, and this one's at 0.2. Well, which one are you going to turn off, and which one are you going to turn up? And for okay, I'm getting excited about this too. If you've never heard of this stuff before, don't worry.
Mm-hmm.
Alaric, you said you have a resource for everyone that will break it down easier, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but it's our gift page on our website at, adoutreach.com/gift. We'll talk about it at the end, but this is going to break down exactly how this works, even more in depth than we can go on this. We'll have obviously go into our ad account on there. So that'll be an exciting resource for
And I
everybody who's
appreciate you for
listening or
making
watching.
that available. And I did want to mention it now and mention it a couple of
Mhm.
times, but yeah, I have no problem going into the deep stuff here because I want people to realize how powerful it is. And also, I asked about the premium because there's always someone playing devil's advocate, being cynical, critical, whatever, and it's just like, I even if you said 10%, I still, when someone says 10% have it, I go, okay, well, you have, 90% left. And I was trying to think of that word in economics, the not the S, I think it's an S curve. Once you get to market penetration of 10%, it like takes off or something. Maybe it's 15, whatever. But the point is there's still a ton of opportunity. Your customers and clients are all over the place. So let's go through your 3 steps of the first one, and then we can touch on the second.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one other thing I want to point out too, and this is important for these 3 steps, is sometimes people look at the YouTube ads, they look at the skip button and they think, oh man, people are going to skip my ads. Like, why would I run an ad? And they kind of almost think that the advertiser is at odds with the skip button. But actually, if you look at it, the way that it works is the skip button is your best friend as an advertiser. Because the way it works, and you probably already know this, Mario, but a lot of people listening probably don't. You only pay if somebody watches 30 seconds or more of your advertisement on YouTube. So if somebody skips that ad before 30 seconds, you're not even paying for it. And so what that means is you have the ability to pull the right person in, but push the wrong person away. And that's essential when we talk about our hook, right? You want to push away the person who's not interested, get them to skip. You don't even pay for it, not even a single penny. And then you're only paying for the people that actually watch more than 30 seconds, prove that they're interested. They kind of raise their hand and say, hey, I want to learn more. It's not like that at Facebook. Every single time somebody, logs in to look at, pictures or whatever it is, they're swiping through. They're not actually looking for anything in particular. They're going to see the ads. Now, don't get me wrong, Facebook ads work. And as, you alluded to before, we run retargeting everywhere. But I found that YouTube is going to be the best to bring people into the funnel because they're searching for what you have to offer. So let's paint the picture. Let's just say somebody is searching. Let's say you have a weight loss program. That's the easiest one for everybody to picture, right? And that's why I use that example. But obviously, this is going to apply to if you help people get leads, grow their business, whatever it happens to be. We have clients who help people with LinkedIn. We also have, e-commerce clients. We have people who sell mattresses, all kinds of different amazing clients. But let's just say, for instance, you're helping people lose weight. So what you want to do is paint the picture. People are looking up, how to lose weight, how to get fit, best workout routines, and you're actually running your ad in front of that video. And that's where this next part comes in. So there's 3 components. There's a hook. So you capture somebody's attention, you get them to pay attention, right? There's an educate. So you're providing some type of value. You're actually getting people excited to learn more. You're painting yourself as the expert, right? In whatever your field is. And that's what this is all about, right? It's the expert, authority effect, right? You want to make sure that you're painting somebody as that expert. And then from there, you have a call to action to get them off of the video into the next step. We found VSL, video sales letter, or a webinar. Those are going to work best because they're another form of video content. But obviously, you can also do it for a free download, video series, whatever it is. And so essentially, with your hook, what you want to do is you want to pull the right person in. You want to say some big, thing that they're worried about, some big thing that is a problem, and that you're going to have a solution to that problem, right? Something that the market is like, wow, you know me better than I know me, right? That's that big aha moment. And so if you have that hook, you've captured their attention. You also want to push away the wrong person, right? So you want to make it clear who you're talking to. And if there's somebody who you don't want to watch your video, right, then you can have them click the skip button. You want the people who aren't interested to go ahead and skip. So you want to call out who you're actually looking for. So that's the hook. You pull in the right person with something that's tantalizing. They have to learn more. They have to watch, right? So for instance, I'll give you an example. One of our hooks that we've used, I'll give you two of them. One is, what if you could ethically hijack your competitor's traffic and send it directly into your own funnel? Well, we'll show you exactly how to do that with YouTube video ads, right? So you can see how exciting that sounds, right? It gets people excited. It's the same thing. We have another hook, right? And this one is more of kind of an us versus them provocative hook. YouTube ads beat Facebook ads every time. And in this video, we're going to show you exactly why. Both of those hooks work really well, and they're different, right? And I don't recommend just doing one hook. Typically what we recommend our clients do is, 4 or 5 different hooks and then layer it in with the rest of the video. So not 4 or 5 different videos, but just different hooks, kind of like testing headlines, right? Or testing copy. And so you have these different hooks, and then from there, you got to provide, educate, and value. And I think this is something especially, Mario, your audience is going to appreciate, because it is, people who are experts, right? People who are, top in their field, right? This is the key. The biggest thing people get wrong. The biggest thing people get wrong on YouTube is they create a short 30, 60-second ad where they hook you and then they tell you to go sign up for their thing, but they don't provide any value. People go to YouTube to learn, to get value, to actually get educated. And so if you have some type of value you're providing on your actual ad, people are going to see you as the expert and they're going to have to learn more. So for us, we go under the hood of a winning YouTube ad. We show people how that works, how a YouTube ad works, explain the 30-second skip, some things that people don't know already, and it gets them excited. Same thing with clients that, are in, let's say, the weight loss industry. They will break down myths. You don't have to spend hours and hours of the day at the gym. You just need to do certain exercises that actually, increase your metabolism. You also need to make sure that you're eating the right things. We'll show you exactly what that is, and so you have these different things that break down misconceptions and also allude to your webinar, to that next step, right? And so that's the educate portion. Actually, Mario, I'm curious, what your take is on that, because as experts, I think it's really important, even in the ad, to educate people.
I've always said lead with value, lead with education, because if people, not even from throw the marketing out the window, because I know some people go, well, I don't like to sound salesy, this and that, and other people say, well, you want to have a limited time offer and, you want to be saying strategic things. If you're doing it from the tiniest bit of manipulation, or I'm doing this only because it's part of a recipe, I personally feel you're missing the point to begin with. And it's why I've not let certain people on the show. It's like they're good in business. They're successful. I put on Facebook numerous times, and I put, it's not that you're not qualified. It's just that I don't like you. And it's the same thing with ads. It's like, if you're trying to do this from a place of servitude and actually help people, just be honest with them. You don't need a today only for this unlimited digital download. Like, are you kidding me? People aren't stupid. And if that's who you're attracting and you're using fear-based marketing to get them, I don't even want them, because they're the wrong type of people, but no one even thinks about that. So I agree 100%. What I found works best for coaching with what I do in book publishing is adding the value, giving the freebie, and then booking a call. So instead of a 21-day drip funnel, which does work if you're in the right thing. Maybe that weight loss you were talking about, maybe 67% of the market has a resilience and you need to warm them up before they're ready to take that action. I don't know. But when you look at the data and the numbers like you're talking about, it makes much more sense. I like to get people on a call, but I do have other stuff that goes to webinars and trainings and stuff like that. It depends on what you're doing. So, and I was actually going to ask you, is there any magic bullet, or have you found it depends on the industry and who you're talking to, where it's like, here's the top 5 or 6 things. It could be any one of these. We need the data to figure it out.
That's a great question. So honestly, what I found is YouTube ad to VSL or webinar to a phone call. is what's going to work best in the coaching area, high ticket. I mean, that's like our bread and butter too. So I'm just using that, weight loss example as one, example that everybody can understand. But a lot of our clients are coaches, are consultants, right? And they're running these types of funnels, right? Where they go from YouTube ad to webinar VSL to phone call. Now you can go YouTube ad to phone call. You actually run into a crazy problem, right? Which is you have so many phone calls that you're not actually filtering as many people. And you also get some people on the phone who are less familiar with you. So I found that there's essentially this approach where on one side, you have YouTube ad to webinar VSL to phone call. And then on the other side, you have retargeting ad to phone call, right? And so you said that you've been seeing a lot of my retargeting ads on YouTube. We also have some on Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. And so you've been seeing a lot of those advertisements. You may or may not have watched the webinar, but if you've landed on my site at all, you're also going to get retargeting that warms you up, educates you, shows you, who I am. I actually, love retargeting podcasts, and maybe even this podcast, right? But like getting people to know you a little bit better. And then once that happens, then you can push them to a call from this side as well. And so if you have all angles driving towards a call, that's what's going to provide the best effect. But I found on the cold traffic side, a webinar indoctrinates people, provides value. And the reason people stop webinars with Facebook, I've found, is because they don't like the show up rates, right? Or the application rates. But that's a problem with Facebook, not webinars. And so what we've seen, and it's actually kind of funny, is, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, or even not even 4, like 4 years ago, you could run a YouTube ad to the webinar and you'd have a lot of people show up. It's every hour in the hour. But nowadays it's like 25% with a lot of businesses. With our YouTube ads across us and our clients, the average is 50 to 60% show up rate on an every hour on the hour webinar, which is crazy.
See, and what I like about that is what I've loved about business since I started my first one at 12 is common sense. Some people get these huge ideas and shiny objects, and this is the magic bullet. And it's like, just think about this. If people are on Facebook, they're generally relaxing. If they're on YouTube, they're willing to watch stuff and they're looking it up. So now that you're explaining it, it makes 10 times more sense that if you're taking them from cold traffic to a webinar, they're already watching videos and they're probably spending 30 minutes looking up what they were trying. You know what I mean? Instead of me looking up 20 random videos, you're telling me in this 30-minute webinar, you're going to give me all the answers and I don't need to search anymore? Yeah, I'll sit back and watch.
Exactly. And that is exactly right? So basically, people are already consuming videos. They're already have intent. They're in the learner's mindset is what we call it, right? And so if you send them to a webinar, they're much more likely to watch because they're already looking up videos. And so our actual rate is about 60% show up. And on an hour and 8-minute long webinar, our average view time is 53 minutes, where the offer to book a call comes in at 45 minutes. So it's just incredible, what happens when you have a medium that meets, what you're looking to advertise. Also, one other thing on a personal note as well, Mario, you mentioned obviously starting your first business at 12. That's when I started my first business as well, AppFind, my YouTube channel. I mentioned, I started about 11 years ago. When I was 12. So I'm still a younger guy now, 23. But I started that back in 2009, my YouTube channel when I was just 12. So a lot in common there as well. It's great, entrepreneurs definitely start early, and it's exciting, when you can kind of flourish and build that up.
Well, congrats on that too. That's fantastic. I mean, we could do a whole show on that, I'm sure. But congrats.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And likewise, it's always awesome when, obviously you get in touch with and meet and see incredible other people who started young as well. And hopefully, I'm sure there are more than a handful and maybe even many people who are very young watching this right now. And this is giving them some inspiration, to become an expert and build themselves up. So that's awesome.
I've told people for years, age is a mindset. And I mean, I just saw something the other day and it was like Colonel Sanders, Henry Ford, Edison, all these people, most of them started businesses at like 48, 52, 57, 65. I don't know the exact ages. Don't fact check me, some person that's listening to this that's just cynical. But it's like, it's never too late to start, but absolutely one of the best things I ever did. And that was an official business. I was still... if you got that entrepreneurial spirit, it's just like, what can you do by 20, by 30, by 40, 50, 60? It's like that. It's just awesome, all the opportunity, and especially with the internet. I'm so glad you're demystifying some of this, because when you're saying an hour and 8 webinar and average watcher is 53 minutes in and the call to action is 45, Expert Authority World, if you're not hearing this, those are stats and data. There's no confusion, it's complete clarity, and there's no guesswork. That's the power of all of this. You can figure it out. Maybe not overnight, but let me ask, how long would you say, if someone said right now, I want to fire this thing up, what do you reasonably set the expectation for a client to say, is this going to take a week, 2, 3, 45 to 53 days?
That's a great question. So it also depends on what they're bringing into it. I like to say if somebody is already an established expert or business owner, and we cater to a lot of, experts as well, and coaches, consultants, and course creators too. If you already have an established business, you already have something that maybe you've advertised before on Facebook, didn't work as well, or you've at least been selling in some capacity, then typically we could get people's YouTube ads up and running within 1 to 2 weeks. Right. And so we have a proven process. We have an in-house script writer that helps them write out their script, step by step. Our program is a done with you program. So it's a hybrid. So we have trainings on how it all works, but then we're going hands in, helping people set things up. Myself and my team, actually setting up campaigns with clients. And so essentially what we found is the ads will usually start running within 1 to 2 weeks. And then from there, it'll take another, maybe 2 weeks to really fully dial in. But there should be leads coming in and sales coming in, or at least phone calls, leads and phone calls. And then obviously if you can turn those into sales, coming in within even the first day, right? You have ads running. If you do it right, and that's our goal, is to get it set up the right way, you should have those leads coming in. But it will take a little bit of time to dial in. And I would say, think of the full ramp up to be about a month, but you actually have people coming in and sales during that time. It's just after that, that's when it's dialed in. It's like clockwork. You have the leads coming in, you have the sales coming in, and you're able to scale up and then build up retargeting and really increase your ads. It's actually kind of funny. Once you have it dialed in too, you actually can go and scale really quickly with YouTube versus Facebook. So Facebook, one of the biggest problems people face is, they're like, all right, it's time to scale. This ad's doing so great. And they increase it and then it just tanks and it's awful. And I hear it time and time again, or they get shut down. But that's a totally different story. But if it tanks, the problem is it's actually scientific. It's in how the platform works. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you shouldn't advertise on Facebook. It's just, when you put your eggs in this basket, it performs very differently than something like YouTube. Facebook, the way that it works is it's all based on an algorithm. So if you're targeting a certain type of people, there's no intent to say when you're targeting them or what they're looking for, right? And so YouTube or Facebook will spend your entire budget. Let's say you're spending $100 on whatever that interest or targeting is. And if you want to increase that to 200, then you just have to pray that the algorithm will find more people and actually double, what your results are. Whereas on YouTube, the way that it works when you're running these ads is you're running an ad and you're actually able to target people based on what they're searching, what they're watching, specific videos. You could combine that with additional targeting like demographics and interests, and we'll talk about that in a second. But you actually have a tangible thing. So there's actually an inventory. So let's say you're running in front of a keyword that has a collection of videos, and this keyword works. It's getting you 10 calls, 2 sales for every 1,000 views. That's just an example, just out of my head. Right. But let's say that's what's happening. And you're like, this is great. I want to scale this up. And so what you do is you say, hey, I want to buy 2,000 views. Now, what happens on YouTube is because it's the same keyword, if you buy 2,000 views, you can expect with a reasonable margin for that campaign to actually double in results. Maybe it's 1.9x in results. There's always a little bit of diminishing returns, but it does what you expect it to do. When you scale up a Facebook campaign from $100 to $200, you expect it to double the results, or at least go 1.9x, right? With maybe a little bit of diminishing returns. It doesn't always happen that way because it's all an algorithm and the budget is incorporated into the algorithm. Whereas on YouTube, if you buy 1,000 views and you get a certain result, if you buy 2,000 views of the same thing, it's not going to be the exact same, but it's going to be very, very close. And that's the scientific reason that scaling on YouTube is a lot more efficient and effective than scaling on Facebook.
See, and that sounds good to me too, because I remember years ago when I was afraid to spend 10 or 20 a day, and then it was like
Mhm.
30, 40, 50. And I remember a couple of years ago, I was at like between 100 and 120 a day, and some of the ads were wrong. Like one of the buttons was clicked or whatever, and I just
Oh man.
happened to catch it 5 or 6 hours later, but I was like, this would have ripped through the whole month in whatever, like a week.
Mhm.
And it definitely wasn't working like the way it was. And I talked to my ads manager and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And it's like, basically we zigged when we should have zagged. And I'm like, well, it could have cost thousands of dollars. And I know there's
Mhm.
people that spend thousands of dollars a day, but that's why it's so pertinent to go, hey, is this working or not? Should we scale it or not? Because the second you flip some of those switches, just like with a server and websites or a video
Mhm.
camera, if the right button's not clicked, it's either going to work or it's not. It's not, were you a good person this week? Did you do this, that? It's either live streaming or it's not. It's recording or it's not. The audio's there or it's not. The ads are running or it's not. And you're talking, I don't know if you're talking 100 or 200 for the whole budget or per day, but what type of people, how much are they spending per day, per month that you found works best? Because it sounds like you're getting a lot better returns on smaller budgets. In smaller,
Oh,
I
so
still mean hundreds and thousands of dollars, but
and I love speaking to that too because we run the range. So honestly, you can start out. The lowest I'd recommend starting out would be $50 a day. Typically our clients will start at around $100 to $200 a day, depending on their size. Even if they're a big client, we'll start them off at a smaller amount because we always want to scale up from there. We want to see exactly what works, optimize first, and then scale. Because if you scale first, and it's not optimized, then it's exactly
big
like
problems.
Ogilvy said, right? You have 50% of it going somewhere else. You can tell down to the exact keyword, exact video, what's working, what's not working, and so if you optimize first and then you scale, you can scale up pretty quickly. So you can start at 50, you can start at $100. Like we have clients who are at like $50 a day and are really excited to hit their first $10,000 month. And it's just incredible when that happens. When you see that happen and they're starting out and they're newer, kind of to the online space. But then we have other clients, right? Where and actually, if we talk about ourselves, we're spending thousands of dollars a day, right? Because obviously we have a big operation. We've got a team and sales team and everything. But we've got clients who are, actually it's kind of crazy. We actually just had a client just last month. They hit $1,013 cash collected in their high ticket business and kind of business training, business building, high ticket business. $1,013 cash collected. Just barely got over that million mark, and they only spent $202,400 on their YouTube ads, which is the main driver of their growth. So it's just incredible. And you could just kind of do the math on the ROAS on
Is
that. They
that
had some
is that for
advertising
the
elsewhere, but
is that for the month or for the year? Either way, it
oh,
sounds
that's for the
great. And
month. That's last month. Yeah.
so they spent just over 200 grand on the month and got
Mm-hmm.
over a million. Sounds like a 5x return. It's actually more than that, 5 point whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah, that's their biggest source of cold traffic. They do have some retargeting on other platforms that doesn't speak to the whole picture, but that's the vast majority of the spend that they have, and that's where their cold traffic is coming from. So it's just incredible when you see something like that and
and you're
can
saying
really
this is a
be part of
coach,
that scale.
consultant, speaker, expert?
Mhm. Yeah, so this is online business, kind of business building. This is more kind of earlier stage business building. But obviously, we have coaches and consultants at a variety of different stages. If that makes sense.
That's fantastic, and that's a good leeway into segue, lead in. I'm going to ask you the next question. Who is your biggest transformation and success story?
Oh, that's a great question. Honestly, I would say that my biggest success story is actually a course creator, and his name is David Emmons. He's an absolutely fantastic, incredible person, and I think the reason I like to talk about him is because he has what one would describe as a very niche business and a niche course that we were able to really scale up, and he's just also one of the absolute nicest guys. He used to live. So I'm in Boston. He used to live near in Vermont, right? So kind of near this area. Since then, he's moved to his dream home in Florida, which is incredible. Made kind of the journey. A lot of people on the East Coast to go down to Florida. But so David Emmons, absolutely fantastic person. And he was doing two different things. So he was selling hanging water gardens. He's an incredible craftsman and artist person. But at the same time, he had a small course that he had created on how to sell your art that you're selling at craft fairs online. He was selling at craft fairs. He figured out how to sell online, with the combination of Shopify, kind of, Etsy, different things along those lines, Shopify, and then ads. And so he was teaching this course, and it's a great course. He helps a lot of people. A lot of his clientele are older too. And these are people that are selling at craft fairs. They're artists. This is a notorious niche of people that don't have a lot of money to spend, or, are not as tech savvy, right? Are a niche. Like, think about it. These are people who sell art at craft fairs. How many people are there? But here's the thing. With YouTube ads, you can pinpoint exactly who you want. And so we got his YouTube ads up and running, and it's just incredible where he scaled to over $2,000 a day. Actually, we're even increasing that now, especially with all the stuff going on in the world, right? There's less craft fairs that exist, but scaled to over $2,000 a day with 4x ROAS on his $997 course, teaching artists how to sell their art online. It's just incredible. It's he's one of the most incredible people. He really built a lifestyle business for himself too. Last summer, when he was around, kind of like maybe the 1,000, 1,500 a day ad spend, and he was doing about 3x at the time, and we've been increasing the ad spend and the ROAS, which you gotta love, right, when you do both of those. But he was doing really well over the summer, so last summer, and he said he wanted to take 3 weeks off, go hike the Grand Canyon, and he did. He checked his ads maybe twice. I didn't advise that. I would recommend going a little more in there. We also were helping him out along the way too. But really hands off. His business ran on autopilot while he was hiking the Grand Canyon. So it's just incredible, to see the success that he's had as a course. Obviously, we've got a lot of coaches and people. Another one that I would say off the top of my head is Ahmad Manawar. He's got a hilarious ad too. It's basically he helps people who are consultants and also, utilizing LinkedIn and kind of more the consulting space. And he was kind of stuck at that $40,000, $50,000 mark. And with Facebook ads, he was getting shut down. He was running into all kinds of problems. He knew that he would be able to hit 100K if he just had the right traffic. We get him on YouTube ads, and slowly, and he just was doing this as like a stopgap when he got shut down on Facebook. He's like, oh, I just need to supplement my leads. We started shifting over to YouTube. And by the time that we had shifted over to 80% of his budget to YouTube ads, is the same budget from Facebook to YouTube, was his first $100,000 month. And he's been hitting that last 5 months ever since.
That is exciting to hear. On all, from a business standpoint, it's always, the financial is always a great litmus test. I don't think it defines everything, but when you're also incorporating, he took 3 weeks off, and I can appreciate being stuck somewhere at whatever level you're at, and you get past that's like feels like $1 million alone when you just break through. And what you were saying about the crafters, I actually really liked when I was a kid growing up. I mean, obviously I grew up, but painting, crafting, etching, woodworking, all kinds of stuff. And I decided in high school, I'm going to I loved this new technical thing, and I was like, I'm going to have a very expensive hobby or a very lucrative business. I chose the latter, but I knew I wasn't going to stop because I just loved it. And I know a lot of people, I'm thankful for mom and dad. They taught me these things, and the painting and the crafts, the ceramics, all of these things. I also feel the people are underpaid. They're some of the best artists in the world, but no one knows about them. And I've tried to help some of them, and it's like, well, I don't think I could do that, this and that. And it's like, they're so very talented. So when you're telling me, they're now selling a course not only to help more people, but it's more enjoyable. I go, look at Precious Moments, look at Yadro, look at any of these things. There's companies that have made massive, massive brands out of basically the same thing. And it's cool to know that well, one, YouTube has a lot of great craft videos on it, but two, that you are helping people like that. And I'm glad you chose that for
Yeah.
your biggest success story because, there's people you could go, yeah, we went from 5 mil a month to 10 mil a month. Okay, cool. But I also like the ones at the other side and the middle where it's like this guy was struggling for 3 years and in 6 months he stopped struggling. That's cool. Or like the weight loss you've
Yeah.
mentioned. And
Oh,
on a personal note, you're also making this a very easy segue for the last question before the imperfect action round and the wheel of whatever. I actually painted this, and there's a couple episodes where you can see that, but we're going to pretend there's the question on it, and it just ended here. You started your business young, and you're clearly successful while you're still young. Where do you see yourself in 10 or 20 years with the way internet and the world is changing? What do you think is going to happen to YouTube?
That's a great question. So YouTube ads is something that I have perfected and I love, and I'm building that up. We've got a blue ocean, a wave of that. But really my passion is, video advertising and marketing. I've always been passionate about marketing and business and advertising. And I've also always been passionate about, video and that kind of medium for getting a message across. I learned even before I started my business, right? When I was 8, 9 years old, I had Adobe Premiere, like not just movie, like I had Adobe Premiere. That was like my, birthday gift or whatever. When I was really young, I learned it. I was on Video Copilot, learning how to do different videos and editing and all this stuff and After Effects and everything. And so I love video, I love marketing, and that's what I've combined together here. So YouTube, the platforms may change, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever it is in the future. But video marketing is not going away. I see that as what my expertise is in, what I love. So when I think long term, I'm growing this business up. My goal, in the next couple of years, is to get this really, by next year, to get this to an 8-figure business myself that I'm doing. And then from there, scaling this up, helping people with video marketing, and probably in the future, I think 10, 20 years, I also plan on, maybe even taking my marketing skills to another business or SaaS or something like that I can scale up even bigger. But I always plan to have this be a big part of who I am, my video marketing and consulting.
Wow. That is awesome to be number one. And number two, I want to touch on, we talked about the affinity because we definitely have an affinity. My background's in video production, special effects, animation, After Effects. My whole goal was to, I learned Finding Nemo stuff with 3D animation on Maya. I learned on Avid. My team and I, we do use Premiere now, but the first book I wrote is on video marketing. And yeah, kindred spirits for sure, because I definitely love it. And when you mentioned the SaaS, about 8 years ago, I developed a automatic WordPress website builder platform that's enterprise. And if you need 100 to 1,000 sites built out, we can do it in record time.
That's awesome. That's incredible. And I knew a bit of obviously the video marketing background, and that's why I was so excited for this podcast today. And it's awesome. And I hope this has been valuable for everybody that's been watching.
It's been fantastic. We're going to thank our sponsor and come back for the imperfect action round. And we are back with the And we are back with the imperfect action round. Are you ready to take imperfect action?
Absolutely.
First question. What is the fastest path to the cash?
The fastest path to the cash is with YouTube ads, would you say specifically, or?
It can be anything business related.
Okay, absolutely. So the fastest path to the cash, honestly, is going to be to get yourself out there in front of your core audience And I recommend using video advertising as that path, because if you can demonstrate your expertise in front of somebody where they can actually see you and get excited about you, that's going to be the best way to get cash.
Number two, what is the biggest problem you see your prospects making and the fastest way they can fix it?
Biggest problem is when you're actually running, let's say, a video ad, or you're basically creating some form of marketing. You're not educating enough. You're not leading with value, whether it be even not just on YouTube, on Facebook too, right? You're not actually teaching people what your core expertise is. So the biggest mistake for that experts are making specifically is by not leading with your expertise.
Number three, what is the best way to maximize customer lifetime value?
The best way to maximize your customer lifetime value is to make sure that you are actually providing the best services that you can. I'm a huge believer in actually helping people get tangible, actionable results. And so if you can give people what you promise them and what you tell them, then they are going to trust you to take them to that next level.
You're phenomenal. You're
Oh,
phenomenal.
thank you. Thank you so much.
I think that was the last question. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I have to ask you just a couple more things. Oh, books, business books, life books. What books have helped you the most in your life?
Absolutely. So honestly, the first real book that I really found a lot of value in is, obviously, it's a classic. Everybody knows it, right? It's like, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's like one of the biggest classic books, and that's how I live my life every day. Actually, I have a poster. It's kind of funny. It's in my bathroom, right? But I look at it, every morning. It has all of the key tenets of the book. There's 30 of them, and I think that it is, it's one of those things that it just encompasses everything. It's not individual. I also love psycho-cybernetics, right? What you visualize, what you think about, that is going to be ultimately what you can create. And then one that has been impacting me, recently is, I also love, Alter Ego Effect by Todd Herman. Really building out these different alter egos for yourself and your business that can help you, basically focus on what you can actually be in different interactions. So I need to be somebody different than I might normally be or naturally be with my sales team, or with as a leader versus as a coach and as somebody who helps people. And so I think that that's been really valuable. And the last one I'll say, this is one I've been going through recently that's very impactful, is The Road Less Stupid. Keith Cunningham, absolutely incredible. Thinking, asking higher level questions, taking the time to think, really being a CEO. Like, it's basically work smart, not harder, right? So it's a great way to incorporate as well.
Wow, great titles, great mentions, and you've been mentioning it throughout the whole
Mhm.
interview. Blue Ocean.
Yes, Blue Ocean, of course. Exactly.
I could tell you read that one also. Great book.
Absolutely. Incredible book. And that's honestly, that leads me to one big point, if I can say real quick.
Of course.
It's that one of the biggest things that I hear, people say about, Facebook ads specifically, but people have said this about Google pay-per-click, is like, oh man, I wish I had gotten in early, back in the day. Like, think, Gary Vee on Google PPC, he made a fortune, right? Like when it was really, dirt cheap. People on Facebook ads, early days, right? People were just honestly putting ads up to webinars, and they were doing so well. And people are like, oh, I wish I could go back and, get started then. And, or if the ad costs were the same amount. But then those same people, sometimes they don't see what's right in front of them, that yes, these other platforms, they might be a red ocean now, but there is a blue ocean that exists. And unfortunately, that's the paradox. That's the catch-22. Sometimes it's only easiest to spot a blue ocean after it's happened. So don't be one of those people. See YouTube for what it is, as the blue ocean right now.
Have you read Acres of Diamonds?
I'm familiar with it. I haven't read it, though.
That's one of my favorites, and it's I think you'd appreciate it, especially after what you just said there, and I agree 100%. There's so much opportunity. I mean, as things grew in business for me, it's like there's so much coming at me. What do I have to say no to? It's like, it's not that it's a bad opportunity. It's just there's only so much time where it's like you have to stay focused on, what's working. You can't get to a level of success and then start spreading it out it's like stay focused on it, but also, yeah, always look for new opportunity. It's all over the place.
Exactly. Exactly. I'll have to check that one out too.
Well, where would you like people to check out more info on you and learn more?
Absolutely. So I actually put together a page with value for everybody that's been watching or listening to this right now. It's adoutreach.com/gift. So it's ADOUTREACH.com, adoutreach.com/gift. And I'll have a little video just thanking you for watching the podcast. Obviously, I love doing these, and on there I have links to our YouTube ads webinar. That's the one that it's an hour, 8 minutes long. There's a reason. It's not just our ads. We're not like hypnotizing people to watch 53 minutes on average. Like, I actually provide value first. When you go there, you're actually going to get value. We're going to show you, we're going to take you under the hood, explain these key components, everything we talked about today and more. Going into that, we also have YouTube ads for high ticket. That's a 22-minute no fluff training. That's another great one to check out as well as on that page too. And then we also have a link to our Facebook group, YouTube ads for entrepreneurs. You'd also search that on Facebook. And I'm always posting different trainings. You can interact with me on there, and that's a lot of fun too.
Well, I appreciate you for making all those available. I'm definitely going to check them out, and you have been incredible. I'm so glad we got connected and we were able to do this. Thank you for adding value to Expert Authority World.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right, Expert Authority World, we have another great episode today. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day, and God bless.